Yay.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Everybody, welcome back to Nosy AF. It is Stephanie and it is the holidays. And I am going to be taking a break for the next two episodes. But before I did that, I am so happy that my friend Ife Olatunji. Oh, wait, is that right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, I
Yeah.
said it perfect. Yes. Ife is here, able to just sort of kick back with me. She's in town. She is a award-winning documentary filmmaker and producer, and she's in town. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, so excited to catch up with my girl and see what she is up to. And she's gonna host these breaks with me. So Ife, welcome to the show.
Yay. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. I just want to read everybody your bio. It's a short bio, but I think it'll give everyone, the deal about who is in the building. Um, so Ife Olatunji is a award-winning independent and visual anthropologist and documentary filmmaker. Ife has produced several short documentaries through anthropological field work in India, Chicago, the UK, and many, many more places. Ife's work includes everything from music and dance videos to experimental nonfiction and observational cinema. And she is wonderful. So it's so cool to have you here because I know that like we both work in film and then also have like our own film and art practices going on at the same time. So
Mhm.
I guess my first thought is, how are you winding down as we come to it's been such a crazy year,
Crazy.
for the film industry, for the world, and like as we just sort of wind down 2023, like how are you feeling?
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, again for having me. They said, you mentioned I was in town, and so I should say I live in LA, and I'm lucky enough to work full time in the film industry. And so, yes, winding down is really essential. Like self-care is very important. Not only is the job just a lot is taxing, is a hard thing to be a part of the industry, but the last year with the strike was also very stressful and it just kind of made everything a little tense in LA. So, for me right now is definitely being home, being in Milwaukee, being in Chicago, like being surrounded by my family and friends, my peers. I'm about to take a bath after this, like,
Okay.
legit. Making sure right now I'm also trying to like fast and just make sure I get, my water intake popping, and I'm just really like focusing on these last few weeks on taking care and decompressing, and yeah, I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, do you do any sort of like planning? Like right now for me, I've been thinking about 2024 and I've been doing like an annual review. I do these like reviews to sort of see like what's happened over the year, like how I did, what I was thinking and stuff. Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I have like these butcher boards paper where I really be trying to like get my life together. So, now mind you, I probably need to do that when I get back home, but last year that's what I did, where I like looked at what I did in 2022 and just like how I wanted to start off 2023, and tried to keep those goals with me. And now I think I did pretty good. I say now looking back on it, I probably made it about half of the year.
Okay.
'Cause summertime be coming and I'll be like, whatever, throw it out the window. You know, uh, and this year I was like, let me get back on it. So you know what? I think I will do that, having those assessments. I think it's really important to do that. I also think it's important to look back at your successes and your wins because we're our natural tendency is to be like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't make enough money, I didn't lose enough weight, I didn't get a boyfriend, in this last year. But it's important to look back on those successes. And it's like I was telling you, like, I made so many more friends this year. I got to work on an independent project this year. I've gotten to travel around California this year. and just, recognizing maybe even successes that are not work related. Like I said, just making new friends and, being able to have a great time during the holidays. Like, it's important to recognize that you've actually accomplished a lot. And, even those days where it didn't feel like you were making progress, now you can look back and be like, okay, no, that was something. I did that. I'm happy I shoot got my hair done and my hair still did. You know what
Listen,
I'm
your
saying?
hair
Like,
looks good, okay?
so you know what I'm saying? Just being able to be like, oh, this year, I did have some of that. Another win, I often think, because I sometimes I get seasonal depression. So I
Hmm.
definitely feel like another win is being able to make it to the end of the year, and feel like something about the end of the year makes me feel like I can do it again.
Yeah.
So you get so exhausted. It's like, okay, I'm tired. Am I crazy or am I tired? I don't know. And then I get that break and I'm like, okay, no, we can do it again. We can get that energy to go back out there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. I know like on my blog, I don't put up Christmas lights. I'm not even gonna lie, like, oh, I didn't this year. Like I never have since I've lived alone. And it's so dark here. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh, you know what? I see the reason for Christmas lights now. Like
Okay.
a
Yeah.
lot of my neighbors also didn't have Christmas lights up this year. And I'm like, I think next year, maybe even I'll do it this year still
Mhm,
and just like have
mhm.
them up until seriously like March, like become one of those
Yes.
houses
Yes.
that's just like, why is she still
Joy.
have her Christmas lights up?
Yes.
Because it's like, listen, it's so dark.
Yes. That's
It is
why.
so dark and it needs to look so much more pretty. So as I was driving through, like I drove through my neighborhood trying to see who was all had their lights up, and not a lot of houses did. And the ones that did, it just made me so happy. And so I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to light up my house. And plus it'll keep the package. People like be coming on like stealing packages.
I think you're onto something. That's something else because we're getting older and now things are starting to make sense to me now. Things that
Yeah.
our parents did, or you're like, why we do that? And yeah, there's tradition, but it's like, yeah, you need to have these milestones in the year to keep you going, really. That's what I'm saying. It's like Thanksgiving. Like, I'm not like super big Thanksgiving like as a holiday, but that break was so important. Like, I was so ready for that break. And I just spent, it's only one day off or 2 days off, but it's like I spent that with my aunt and my cousins, and it was just like, oh, it was just so much nicer to have that break. And I'm like, okay, that's what this is really about.
Yeah, yeah. It's about yeah, it is about taking a break. And I think I really am about to become that lady that's like people are annoyed with that has Christmas decorations still up because I'm like, it's just too dark out here and I hate it. It's like I'm driving home at 7 o'clock and it like looks like it's like 3 in the morning.
Morning, yes, it's pitch black. Okay.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much. It's like since the pandemic, I feel like I've been beating myself up like, oh, you're not making a lot of work, like you have no ideas.
Mhm.
And one of the questions in this annual review, I always do this annual review from this woman, Allison Stanfield, and she is like an art consultant. And but she wrote this book called "I'd Rather Be in the Studio" years ago. I don't even know if it's still in print, and I felt like it's like really helped me. And so I always get this review. But one question she asked in there is, she'll ask like, "Okay, what artwork did you make this year?" And then like list those projects out.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then and I was like, "Oh, yeah, great, like 3 things," and then but then she's like, "Well, how do you feel about it?" And I was like, "You know what? I might not have done as much as I've done in the past,
Right.
but what I did do was pretty good.
Amazing.
It
Okay,
was
Miss
really
James
good."
Beard. Okay, Miss James Beard.
Okay. I was like, "You know what? What I did, I'm pretty proud of. I like redid my website. I made noseyAF a website.
Mhm.
I made my little soft life pin.
Yes, those were
I
so amazing.
Oh my
Yes.
God, I'm gonna send you one. And then I produced and directed this film for another artist. So I'm just like, you know what? These are mighty but powerful.
Yeah,
And
that
I
is.
feel like without that question of looking at that, because I feel like I've been so attached to what I was doing in the past.
Mhm.
And, as I even say it out loud to you right now, it's like I sound like, man, I used to date this dude who would always talk about like his high school career, like as a football person. I'm just like, yo, that's over, brother. What are you doing now? And I feel like you're making me realize talking to you that like I was being that high school career. Like, dude, those projects are over. Like, what is it? What's the practice going to look like now? You know, maybe
Yeah.
it's not about quantity.
That's right. That's what I say. That's what I say. I posted that a couple weeks ago on my Facebook too, where I'm like, well, I was stressed, but I was like, I get tired of people being like, well, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that? Listen, I'm just trying to live, okay? Like I'm just trying to survive, okay? Like so I take those wins, those quote unquote little wins, those are big wins
Yeah.
because life is just a lot. It's funny you should say that too, because like I was saying, I made a short, with a friend, and I was not an actor, not a DP, I didn't have no serious role, but just by being the producer, you know, um, like you're saying, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna get an EP producer. This will be my first EP credit. And so that was worth all the films. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't make 4 or 5 little, I made one film where I finally got my EP credit. Honey, that is
Yeah.
success, you know.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very I'm excited about the film too. And it's just like, but if I was basing it off of even what everyone else was saying, it's success. They're like, well, you didn't get $1 million to make a movie this year. No, I didn't. I did not. But you know what I'm saying? But I invested my time, my energy, my spirit into making something that I believed in. And that's a win for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to the listener out there, count your wins this year, if they're small and but mighty like mine, it still counts. And don't be a old high school football star like how I was thinking or that
Hmm.
guy I used to date was thinking.
Hmm. Hmm. That's real talk. And it can be hard to let go of that. It
Yeah,
can.
for real. Have you struggled with like anything that's been like hard for you to have to let go?
Oh yes, so many things. I will say that the last 2 years of my life have been that bit of that transition. Um, Before the pandemic, I worked in distribution,
Hmm.
and I was actually at that point about 3 or 4 years in. So I felt really comfortable at the job. But of course, inflation, why yada yada. So money was a real problem because I just was not making enough to live. And I take that as a parameter to say it's time for you to go. If the financial thing is not the most important thing, but if you do feel like you're not making enough money, that's actually your sign to reassess your life and your roles and what you're looking for and what's out there. I tell people all the time to take that leap of faith, because you got to do what you got to do. And there's nothing wrong with saying you need more. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. Especially us Black people, we're being conditioned all the time to just accept whatever little scrap somebody wants to give us. And sometimes we got to take that risk to get something better. So I always encourage that. But when I was in that job, I was really afraid to leave it because I just did not know what was going to come next. Like I was saying to you, and I
Yeah.
really had to, in my mind, what I actually had to do was let go of what I expected it to be, let go of what I thought it was going to be, and really say, what is it? And when I
Yeah.
did that, like I said, I realized, hey, I actually don't want to be in this job anymore. And that's just what it actually is. I don't know what's coming next, but I don't want to be here anymore, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a truth for me. And what actually happened was when I put that into the universe responded,
Hmm.
and the universe started bringing me things that I didn't foresee, that I didn't imagine.
Mm.
And the first thing that happened was I got a offer to apply to Stanford as a tenure track professor out of the
Wow.
blue. And I
Yeah.
still don't know how they got my name and number, honey. I'm scratching my head. I still don't know. But it was confirmation from the universe that there was more for me. And I didn't have to feel like I was stuck there. And that lit a fire under me. That lit a fire under me. It got me updating my resume and I started listing my wins. And I said,
Yeah.
you know what? Because I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not ready to make a movie. I really thought I wasn't good enough to go to quote unquote Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I never made a movie. I'm not good enough. I didn't win an Oscar on anything. And the universe was like, no,
Yeah.
that's not what it's about. It's about that determination in your heart and that purpose that you have, and fulfilling, that God-given path that we're all supposed to fulfill for ourselves, and that's really what it was for me. I started saying to myself, like, hey, you have done a lot, you have received awards, you have done these projects, you are ready, you are prepared,
Yeah.
after listing those wins, and I could really see it, for myself. So I didn't get the job at Stanford, but I got the job at the studio, and
Yeah.
I credit that to just really having the wherewithal to even try, to even
Right.
put myself out there. And I took a leap of faith because honestly, I just told them people I could do it. Whatever the job was, I would do it. I will learn on the job. Whatever y'all need, I will
I
do it.
heard
I
that.
talked myself into that job. I was like, y'all, ain't nobody else other than me. I'm the one. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, okay. And then they hired me.
Yeah.
But all of that came by shifting my own sense of win and loss and up and down. All of that, when I shifted that for myself, then it was like, honey, I don't care if I don't care if I never had an award or union, PGA or DGA behind my name. I'm ready for this, and y'all need me. And they were
Yeah,
like,
that's
okay.
real. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And you know what? Even like when they called you, then it makes you think, like you just said, like, you know what? Maybe I can do more,
Yes,
like, because people will see you in spaces that you might not see yourself.
yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so too. And I think I've really grown into the job because yeah, I had to, I think we, again, like how we be saying, we expect that we got to know everything and that's the only way we're going to get the job. And I don't know if it was Donald Trump or what, but something about Donald Trump just convinced me you don't have to know nothing.
Dude,
Just,
you know
just
what?
try.
It's so funny you say that. Donald Trump was so pivotal for me, him becoming president, even
Yeah.
in sense where I was like, I was living in an apartment that I'm like, this apartment maybe is like, it's actually like my biggest expense.
Mm-hmm.
And if I
Mm-hmm.
can reduce it somehow, I
Yeah.
think I'd be like in a better place
Okay.
financially. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Donald Trump is just being boisterous, acting however he wants. It made me go ask my landlord for a reduction. And then
Yes.
she was like, well, did something happen? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to like reduce my expenses.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, yeah, okay. And she did it.
Yes.
And so he like
Yes.
helped me to like have like the
The thing,
balls
because
to,
she did the math too. Yeah, it is better.
yeah,
It's better. It's better for all of us if we reduce
yeah,
our rent. You're right. You're right.
yeah. It was amazing. But you're right. I know when everybody was getting so mad at, I mean, obviously, rightfully so, getting mad about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It did make me think like, huh,
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. It made me
yeah.
think. Well, maybe the rest of us aren't trying hard enough. Like
Listen, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
because he has just really done something that none of us thought he could do.
Yeah. And even like, when I've had my name be brought up for like other opportunities, and then I'd be like, "Ugh, are you kidding me?" And then, but you would see the person on the other end, like, oh, yeah, would she do this? Like, would Stephanie do that? And I'm like, wow, they really would consider me. And so, yeah, I think even though it's about like it is like quality over quantity, it's also just like going for it too, right? Just
Yeah.
I think I've like learned that, during this like reflective time of this strike. Just
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, what do I want next? Like even though and even before we started recording, you were saying this too about just like for success, just not giving up, And like I was thinking that like, okay, that's true. Cause if I had gotten burnt out with my podcast, with like all
Mm-hmm.
my projects and stuff and stopped that. But then I, figured out a way to get it started again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then with my art practice, it's like I wasn't making as much. I didn't really have any ideas for like photo projects or whatever. I really
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that interested in like looking at past projects, but at least I made something, so it's like I did not stop. It might have like
Yeah.
slowed, but it didn't
Exactly.
stop.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good job, Stephanie.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, because like I said, you're gonna look back at life and realize, yeah, it might have felt like a small incremental step, but it was still a step.
Yeah.
It was still a step. And not only was it a step you did go through, maybe you had to. Maybe we had to go through that, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Maybe so. You know, I always said if I was like 22 and like ran off to LA, I might have been like somebody's mom or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something be really bad, or I might have had to, I don't know, could have
Yeah.
gotten like caught up in some type of
Real
drug. I
stuff.
don't really know,
Right.
like
Yes. I
real
think
stuff.
about that too, girl. I think about that too, especially because, like you said, LA is a hard place. It's harder than it looks because the palm trees and the beach and the sun make people like, oh, it's so rosy and easy. But when you get out there on the grind, honey, it is a concrete jungle. Okay.
Wow.
So you're right. Because I had to do some strange things for some change every now and then. Okay.
And the Lord still loves us.
Still, yes, I am redeemed, honey, because
Okay.
I have put in the work. Me and my mom were just talking about. She's like, no, there's been some tears, honey. There have been some
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears involved. Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm excited. I'm happy about that. The other thing is, it's exciting to look to the future, but I don't want to live there either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because that's where all the worry and the dread comes in when we're living in the future. So it's important to just like, be thinking about what's coming next. Like you're saying, okay, I want to keep making art. So I want to work towards that, but be open to how that really happens. You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying, like, okay, like I love that podcast. Like I'm still impressed by your interview out in, like, where were you? Nova Scotia? Where was you at in
Oh, in
Canada?
Pooch Cove with my with
Yeah,
the director. Yeah.
yes. And so I just think about, like, think of all the steps that led you there. You know what
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean? And to this really important moment that you just got to, and you broke through him too. He seemed also surprised that he was
Mhm.
in this moment with you. And it was just like, wow, I knowing you and now knowing you for like 10 years, I'm like, of course. To me on the outside, it's like, of course she's there, hobnobbing with the great artists and the funders, but it's like, I just want to say that, like, you don't even have to worry about the future. You're making the future now because you've done such amazing things and you continue to do amazing things. And just by continuing to put one step in front of the other, that's how you get there. That's the future,
Yeah.
one step at a time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You right. You right.
I'm, because we could not have imagined that 10 years ago, but here you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. And even just like with you, as you've grown, we've gone out to dinners many of time, and each time those dinners just keep getting fancier and fancier, honey. So which I love,
Yes.
So I'm all for that. So that's like really cool. So I'm just so happy about that. Thanks for being a friend who just keeps making moves in their own journey,
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
hate the friends. I have friends that have stopped, making like with their goals, and it's like it's hard to watch and it's hard to engage with sometimes, so it's really, really important to like have friends
Mm-hmm.
that are
There
still
too.
going
Yeah.
moving forward.
I agree. I mean, you really motivate me. That's what I'm saying. Like, you really
Yeah,
motivate me and you encourage me. And I love sharing ideas with you. I
me
love being
too.
able to be feedback and just, we talk about, you're gonna read my screenplay. Like, I love
Yes.
that. And I do think that matters. I think it does matter to surround yourself with people
Yeah.
that are working towards it, because to just your point, even when people want to stop, it's really just because they too get burnt out, right? They
Yeah.
too get exhausted, and maybe life changes for them and they're like, look, it's not working for me. And that's
Yeah.
fair enough too. I don't hold nobody to that. But like I said, when I see people unhappy, I
Hmm.
know the unhappiness is because you're not living in your real purpose.
Yeah.
I'd rather be broke in my purpose.
Exactly. Me
Uh,
too.
you know what I'm saying? Because that would make me happy. And I but how about not? I have
Yeah.
been broke in my purpose. You know what I'm saying? And it still led me to the next thing. So I think it's so important to, like, align yourself with that, your energy, whatever it may be. So like I said, I mean, I have some friends that were artists and then they became mothers, because that happens to us a lot.
Hmm.
And then they were like, okay, well, I don't need to do that no more. I'm good. I'm good over here. Fair enough. Like, if that brings you joy and you're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If you find yourself unhappy and you're trying to figure out what's wrong. Well, honey, get out there and make that art, and then you won't be so unhappy. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that, like, aligning with yourself whenever wherever you actually are, that's where you produce the best thing. And so whatever that may be, like I said, if you just want to cook food, get into that, follow that passion. You may not have to own the restaurant, but you can enjoy cooking for the rest of your life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah, just yeah.
Yeah. So, to wrap up this conversation,
Yeah.
what
That
advice
I
would you
hijacked.
no, 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 you didn't hijack it, but I just want to, say, do you have any advice? Because I love like takeaways, um, like, yeah, just thoughts that somebody could think about. I guess I was thinking of like, all right, what's an exercise that somebody could do, that's like, man, I'm stuck. What should I do?
Mhm. Mhm.
I think to me, if I was to give like an assignment like that, I would just say like, all right, just close your eyes and put on a voice note and talk about like your dream day,
That's right.
like what you did, because that can be just like anything, it can be like completely fantastical and fantasy bound and all that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Well,
that kind of daydreaming, I love that kind of daydreaming.
I do too. I definitely think it starts with the meditation, with the daydreaming, with just, like I said, centering,
Yeah.
aligning your chakras, get you a little tea, get your Anya in the background, whatever it is,
Okay.
to
I love
to get,
them.
to just get yourself centered. And then I always say, really talk to yourself. What do you really want?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you really want without the shame of someone else judging that want, you
Yeah.
know? So before I started working in the studio, I did that. I sat down to pray and meditate. And I asked myself literally that. I said, what is your truest desire? Like, what do you really, 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 really want? Like, no bullshit. If you could have it, what do you want? And I said to myself, I want an Oscar.
A
Okay. I didn't even have a movie. And I was like, I want an Oscar. And I just was honest with myself. I was like, I want to work at a company. I want to make feature films. I literally just like daydreamed all of that. And then, like I said, I told you the story how I started getting myself together. And then I actually got into the job. And the first film that I worked on got nominated for an Oscar
wow.
at the studio. And that had just confirmed for me, you know that once you put it out into the universe, it will come back to you,
Yeah.
with your full faith, with that full desire, and with your intention, that your determination to walk that walk, you know what I'm saying? It will reveal itself. So within 6 months, we were nominated for an Oscar. And now that didn't have nothing to do with me. I didn't even work on that film. But that's where the universe put me. It put me
Right.
right where I said I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really encourage people to do that, to sit with themselves, be honest with themselves, put that energy out there, starting writing your mind, starting writing your imagination. And from that, of course, writing down things. I keep a notebook where I just write everything down, whatever I imagine. I mean, if I imagine a movie, if I imagine another job, I'll be imagining my house, whatever it is, I put it in there, and I do that to start the manifest, that starts the manifestation process,
Yeah.
by actually turning it from an idea into something tangible, to something you can hold.
Ife, I'm curious, do you have a way that you organize your notebooks? Like I
You know,
have just stacks of notebooks and I have no idea. And I remember I used to meet with this photographer, used to just sort of meet like,
hmm
exchange our photos and stuff. And
hmm
he had this organization system. We didn't meet enough for like him to really break it down, but like
hmm
he had stuff labeled. So like if he did have an idea about like, oh, that's right, a car driving. I wrote something about that. He knew how to find it. I don't have anything like that. Do you?
That's a good point. I haven't quite organized it in a notebook, but I can kind of tell because I got one notebook that I like really was in this year. But I
Okay.
did kind of notice I had like I put like fiction ideas, documentary ideas,
Oh, okay,
business
okay.
ideas. So I did kind of like at least put a little header on it so I knew which idea it was.
Ooh. I love the idea of making a business idea list. That's fun.
Yes, no, business ideas, girl, because I'm still trying to execute that list. I'm like, how can I get passive income? Business ideas.
Oh my gosh. I'm hoping she's gonna come on the podcast, but I met a girl who runs vending machines.
Yeah, stuff like that.
She
Yes.
has
I want to do that.
40 vending machines.
Girl,
And
I
she's
just want
like,
one
I've just
vending.
been doing that for like, I don't know, a few years. And,
Yeah,
and she's just so shook about it. And it's like, because let me tell you, the strike, and I think I
yes.
mentioned this on the podcast, I was like, oh, you know what? You'll never catch me like this again. You ain't ever
Yes.
gonna catch me in a money situation like this
Yes.
again.
Yes.
No, no.
Nope.
I just wrote my little card, business
That's
ideas on
right.
it.
No, that's what I say. I'm gonna get into while we talk about the end of this break. I'm trying to figure out this drop shipping situation, how people
Oh
be
my
doing drop
gosh.
shipping. Yes. So I'm like, I'm out here. What are the ideas? How can I make something else, pop off? Like you said, I love my job. I really love working in studio, but working in studios are, you know, they're tenuous
Yeah.
and things could change in Hollywood all the time. So I'm with you, girl. I'm trying to get me a soda machine or something.
The industry is so crazy. Like, it's like right now, an actor on my show could be cursing somebody out. And on
Mhm.
Monday, we all can be out the job.
I
It's
agree.
just like
Yes,
so crazy, like
yes,
how wild it goes.
yes.
Um, but yeah, but I love the idea of drop shipping. I know when I was figuring out my pins, I would
Hmm.
go through this whole thing about like packaging and stuff and like, oh, how it has to come. And
Hmm.
then a lot of like the pin makers are like, nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares
Nobody
about
cares
that.
about that. It's gonna go in the garbage. It's gonna
Yeah.
go in the garbage. And even I had ordered this like really pretty planner
Hmm.
and it came like in such a decorated box. And
Hmm.
while I'm sure I should probably keep that box, like in case there's a project or like there's like a present or something,
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to also get rid of clutter. And this box
Yes.
is going in
In the
the
way.
recycle.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
feel like dropship is such an interesting business because I hear people always be like, "Well, you want to make sure it like gets presented." I'm like, the people do not care about that.
Care about that.
They don't care. I don't care. As
I
long
don't
as it's
care.
the socks that I ordered, if
Yes.
it's in the little white bag, I'm taking them out and putting on the socks and moving on.
And
So
moving on. Exactly.
yeah, the drop ship. I'm with you on that. That's a
Yeah.
good.
I'm
You'd
trying
be
to
so good
hustle
at it.
this
You could probably have like a cool little shop and they don't have to know
something.
because that was another thing. I would follow this lady and she always had like cute like socks and like bodysuits and everything. And she had it set on her site so cute that when it came, it was like an Amazon receipt.
Yeah. That's
And so
it.
I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you're just like curating the stuff. And I was just sort of shocked, like, oh, wow. And it said like
She was
thanks to
getting
her
it through
purchase. So she
Amazon.
had some
Yeah.
type of way to like say
Yeah,
thanks
because
for shopping here or whatever.
yeah,
But
but
her
it was just
site, it
Amazon.
was just
Yeah.
like jazzybodysuits.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I go on
Mm-hmm.
there all the time.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to learn how to do. Yep. Yep. So yeah, I think, and that's what we were talking about. There's nothing wrong with getting those ideas because that's how you manifest them. Like we just figured out how we finna do drop shipping. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you got to start by putting it out there. And I think a lot of times we're so afraid within ourselves that
Yeah.
we don't even allow ourselves time to imagine, time to write down the idea, time to think about the idea. And in some extent it's circumstantial because a lot of us, I mean, we're a little bit older now, so we have a
Yeah.
little bit more of a little bit more freedom. But like when you're 20 years old, you're just trying to make a living. You're just like, whatever, I just need to make a living. But it's like having that time to think about things and really give yourself the space to find your path, find your journey. That's what makes life worth living. You know what I mean? Because like I'm not knocking nobody for any job they have, but I just know like I can't go make hamburgers. Like hopefully I'll never have to at this point, but like I know that like standing on my feet all day, like that's not a job for me. Like mentally, that's not, I need more than that.
Yeah.
But because I knew that about myself, you know what I'm saying? I said, well, I can't just make movies right away. So, first it was teaching, then it was, working on people's projects. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to make movies. I knew I didn't want to flip burgers. I knew I wanted to make movies, but you don't just jump to making movies. You take the steps to get there. And the same goes for life. There's
Yeah.
steps to get to anywhere you want to go. And so sometimes we got to take those steps. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's up or down, sometimes it's two steps back, but all of that is a part of getting us to that alignment, our purpose in this world. And I think it's important that we do that, and then, making art to me is just like that's like what it's all about.
Yeah, that is what it's all about. You know, one thing, last thing I'll say here that I'm really working on too is snacks, bringing snacks.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, like just eating, being
Yes.
better about eating.
Yes.
I was at my
Yeah.
studio yesterday and I was so proud of myself because I was meeting a friend at like 3 and I had some snacks. I had some apple and cheese and my little
Oh,
water and I felt so fulfilled. And then when she came, I wasn't like rushing her to go eat,
yes.
you know? And I was
Yeah.
so proud of myself.
Oh, that's a
So I'm
good point. I want to bring back snacks too. Yeah.
yeah, I need to bring back snacks. So I feel like, like, yeah, we have all this art stuff, but even just like the basics, like I need to come
Mhm.
back to these snacks.
But I love that though, and that's so true though, because recognizing your body, right?
Yeah.
Listening to your body, and
Yeah.
again, feeding your body and your energy so that you can really be prosperous. Because like if you wait to eat all day, you get tired, then you eat a big meal, now you sleepy, right? Now, how is that helping
Yeah.
us make art?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right. Like how we making art and we sleepy.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, Ife, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, everyone. Yeah, so we're gonna be on a break and we will see you guys in the new year. I think that's such a great joke when people are like, see you in the new year, ha ha ha.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.